What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be doing an AFK Journey overview, and I'm going to share my honest opinion of the game. I'm going to give a list of goods, some and then some things that I think are bad. So let's go ahead and jump into it. AFK Journey is a fantasy RPG. It's by the same creators of AFK Arena, Lilith Games, and it combines a open world exploration with AFK idle gameplay. Like most gacha games, AFK Journey has its own system where you can summon different heroes. Some allow you to go for specific units like this, and others are more of a kind of generic summoning system. Now, this is my original account. I haven't actually played on this account. I just logged into it today, but I made this account probably like a year or two ago when the game came out, so about a year ago, and I was given 15 days as a returner recruiter, which gives me the ability to get all these units that are no longer, you can't really directly summon them anymore, which is kind of nice. You know, getting extra, way to catch up and stuff in the game is always nice. You can also see there is just like the generic recruitment going on right now for Gerda. This is where you would be summoning for S and A level heroes. This is more of like your generic summons. This is a more specific focused summon. You get different envelopes or cards to summon for this as you would for the all hero. This one is specifically for epic recruitment, as you can see down here at the name. And then this last one is stargazing. This is where you can get essentially the best units in the game overall. Harder to get the resources to actually summon for this, but the units that you get are pretty solid. You can change who you want to focus here. Most of these heroes are really good. If you look at the tier list, you can get a better idea which ones are worth actually summoning for. But you can see you can change here. And aesthetically, the game looks great. So that is definitely one pro I would say for AFK Journey. That is just, aesthetically, the game looks really good. If we go ahead and take a look at just like the main city, you can see here, this is the current season that's going on. Like I mentioned a second ago, this is not my current account. This is an account from a while ago. So I haven't actually done this season on this account, but I have on my other one. But you can see aesthetically, like the game just looks good, like compared to other mobile games. This is on my PC currently, but on your phone, it's going to look pretty much the same. Overall, the gameplay of AFK Journey is actually pretty fun. It's really engaging. I think for most people, you're probably going to be playing, you're going to be a little bit more of grinders, especially when you first start out. There's a lot of content to get through, but I think the content overall is, not terribly taxing. I think you're enjoying most of what you're doing, and I think a lot of the gameplay is focused on betting your team, leveling up your characters, and getting more heroes, kind of typical gacha fashion. But they do have a storyline that's kind of incorporated into everything. I personally skipped everything. I do not know what the story is about, but reading online, I know some people have really enjoyed it. I think it's better than your typical like average gacha game. I think it actually has some depth to it, and I think if you are to dig into it, you could actually enjoy it. I was just trying to grind through it when I first started, so I was ready for the next season, and I just skipped all the story. So with that being said, the current season story is pretty good. I've been following along that one a little bit better, and I've just enjoyed it overall. I'm not going to have any spoilers in case you do want to play it, but it's definitely like not like drudging through it. And if you don't, you can just skip it. If you don't like that kind of thing, you can just skip it as well. You can see here there's a lot of different things you can do daily. You have your arena, which is pretty typical. Your dream realm is kind of like your daily boss that you can fight. So you basically, the more damage you do, the better rewards you get. Legend Trail is kind of like towers for your factions. So those of you who have played AFK Arena, this is similar in the regards of the different towers in that game. But basically, for the Legend Trail, you will be trying to progress in each of these towers. And as you progress in the floors, you get different rewards, and you can only use the characters from those specific factions. Guild Supremacy obviously is for guild. I'm non-skilled because I haven't played in this account forever. Battle Drills is a similar thing. It's like a guild-wide event where you're trying to clear different towers and enemies and bosses. Honor Duel is a game that I'm not a huge fan of because it is really time-consuming, but basically you're given a variety of characters, and then you have to fight another person with the characters that you're given. And as you win, you get more resources. If you lose, you also get more resources, and you can use those to purchase more characters, level them up, and get different gear. It takes a while to get all the rewards for this, and it resets weekly, which is why I don't like it. I do know they have recently kind of started focusing on overhauling this game mode to make it a little less like just overwhelming and too much of a time sink, but for now, that's kind of what it is. Arcane Labyrinth. You push 15 waves, you buy different things to buff your units, and then you get rewards after you clear it, and they progressively get harder. Kind of time consuming too, but not horrible. You only do it once, which is nice. And then there's other things. Supreme Arena, here you can see it's kind of crossed out. That's basically you get 3 teams instead of 1 arena team. Hero Gauntlet is just kind of another event thing that only lasts for a little while. Clash Fronts is another guild or clan event. And then Dura's Tears is a seasonal event that is happening right now where you can clear different levels and get better equipment that is only for this season for your units. Now, as far as going to the actual events, there's a lot of different things going on. Not all of these are like events that you really have to participate. So for example, this one is literally just collecting a hero and resources every day. So right here, I'm gonna get a random unit, and I actually got a Hypogene unit, which is one of the best units in the game, which is great. I'm not gonna be playing on this account, but that's how that works. And you can get more heroes and kind of stacks up over time. But you get one every day when you first make an account for a long while. You can see this goes on 135 days. So they definitely give you a good amount of resources in the game. I'll say that is another plus. You get a lot of things that you can use for summonings, for buffing your characters if you just kind of play daily. I mean, you're not going to be like maxed out after a month, but you'll feel pretty good about the progress you make in the game as you kind of play with the resources you have if you are free to play. One thing that's also nice is as someone who quit for a year and then came back, they did offer me a lot of ways to catch up. They kind of leveled up all my units to the max level, so I could basically jump right into the current season. The current season is fun. Basically, every so often, there's a season where a bunch of new storyline content is released, and you progress throughout the season. You get a whole new like leveling system, equipment system, and you basically play through it as if you're starting the game brand new. Kind of gives you that rush of like when you first get a fun gacha game and you're like getting all these resources and leveling up, and it feels really good. It's kind of like the repeat dopamine hit that they want to give you as you progress and play in this game. Now, I will say there is a kind of a lull in between seasons where not as much is happening, but I think that's how they kind of keep you hooked to the game as you look forward to the next season, the new characters, the changes that come out with those seasons. I will say they do release a good amount of heroes during the seasons. I think the current one has had like 5 released, and there's probably going to be a few more released, is my guess. I don't know for sure, but you know, they're constantly cooking out different units, different heroes you can go for and pull for. And when they do release them, you generally have like a focused summoning, so you can just focus for that unit, which is a pretty big plus in my eyes because it stinks when you have like a big pool of heroes to summon from, and there's one new one, and there's like 20 heroes, and your odds of getting the new one just is unlikely. It kind of stinks. So it's nice that they give you that kind of focused hero summoning style right when they come out. Now, to sum up everything with AFK Journey that I think is really good, I'm going to say heroes are great, visuals are great. They're always releasing new content with the seasons. Overall, it's free-to-play friendly. Like, you can enjoy the game as a free-to-play unit. You're not going to be the best in arena. You're not going to like be the best in your server, but you can make pretty good progress if you play consistently as a free-to-play player. And because you're put on servers with other people who are somewhat new, you're not going to be like with people who played from the first day on your server. So there's some balancing out in that regard. You know, I think overall the game is a fun game to play. I enjoy it. When you first start out, there's a ton of content. There's a lot of things to do. So you're not going to get bored really quick. You're going to be hooked for a while. And the story overall is pretty solid too, if that is something you're into, but you can skip the story in most cases if that's not really your thing. So kind of appeases people from both ends. So now I'm going to get into the things that I think are kind of meh I think depending on who you are, they could be positive or negative, or you could just kind of feel like they're whatever. So the first thing I want to mention is that the time in between seasons can be a lot. So as someone who, you know, beat the main campaign, has done past seasons, and then the season ends, you're kind of sitting there twiddling your thumbs a little bit. You know, there's some content that's coming out that's going to keep you, entertained a little bit, but there's not like the new rush of the season. And so it can feel like a long time in between the seasons as you wait for the new one. You kind of hear about the themes, the different things that are coming out, but you're still kind of sitting there, kind of like, okay. And for some of you guys, you like the break. You don't want to be constantly engaged in a game. You don't want to feel like you're just missing out on everything if you're not playing for an hour or two a day. And it can be like a really good thing for you. For others, you might be really craving more content. And for you, it might feel like you are falling behind. Now, on a similar note, if you join the game not from the beginning, you can go back and play the other seasons once you beat the main campaign. Now, for me, I came back, I beat the main campaign, I played the current season, and then I started one of the past seasons, and it was nice getting some of the resources and rewards from playing the past seasons because you still get some of that stuff. But at the same time, it felt like I was really missing out on the experience that when it first came out, it was probably really exciting. And now it just kind of feels like an unnecessary grind. But it feels like if I don't do it, I'm going to miss out on resources that will help me progress in the game. So it kind of feels like a chore having to go back and do the past seasons. Now, for someone who really likes the stories and engagement in that way, you'll probably enjoy doing the past seasons a little bit more than me, who is just trying to skip everything and get all the resources that I can in one push. And my final thing that's kind of meh is the fact that when you start playing the game at first, it can feel like a pretty big grind. You're able to push pretty far before hitting like a hurdle where you just kind of need to basically gain more resources, let time progress, and let you move forward. But before you get to that point, it can be a lot. I mean, if you are actually listening to the stories and watching the stories, it's going to take you a good amount of time to beat the main campaign. Not only do you have to wait a few weeks just to progress far enough where you can beat the campaign, because basically the game will hard stop you unless you pay money, because you're just not going to be strong enough to clear stuff or be high enough level for your characters. And so I think for people who are wanting a game with a lot of content when you first start, this game will definitely give you to you. It's like a fire hose of just stuff to do, ways to level up, summon different heroes, try different things. There's a lot of stuff to do. It's an open world RPG in the game, so you can not open like fully open, but it's like kind of directed open world. And so you can kind of check out different areas. There's like fishing things, other random like battles you can do to get more resources, collect things on the ground, stuff like that. And so there's stuff to do, but it can feel a lot. And I remember the first day I played it, I was determined to grind through it super fast. And I spent like 6 or 7 hours in one day just playing the game almost nonstop. And it felt like a chore. And so that wasn't my favorite experience. But for other people, that might be your thing. And so I think there's a lot of content in the game at first. And that can be a positive or a negative, depending on who you are. Okay, now we're going to get into the negatives, and there's not a lot because I think overall the game is pretty good. I think overall it's a solid game, but there are some things that I think are negative and hurt the gameplay overall of AFK Journey. Now, the first thing, I kind of touched on this earlier, but there are a lot of things to do every day. If you have your Dream Realms arena, if you're trying to push your towers, you have your guild stuff, there's a guild event. If you haven't done your honor duels or you need to push an arcane, or do some of these other things down here that if you miss one day, you might miss out on some rewards. It can just feel like a lot. And so I think the dailies kind of go a little too far, especially when you throw in the seasonal stuff. There's just so much going on. You got Primal Lords, which are basically an in-world boss where you and a bunch of other people fight, and all sorts of other random things that are going on in the world. And there's just a lot. And I think if you're wanting a game that is going to be chill during the actual seasons, this might not be it. You know, it can feel like homework at times, or just like you just need to do a lot without missing out on things. When the seasons first start, there's also like a rush of like trying to progress as far as you can and level up as much as you can. And if you miss a few days, it makes it feel like you have fallen behind a lot compared to other people, which can affect your arena levels and all sorts of other things and clan battles and stuff. And so, you know, I don't like having to feel like I need to be on top of a game all the time. And I think most people, when they play a game that's literally called AFK Journey, they kind of expect it to be a little more AFK than it actually is. Now, the next thing that I want to mention is during the seasons specifically, there are a lot of heroes that are released, and I just don't think there's enough resources or time to really get them as far as you want. I think if you were to play every day within the season, you could probably get a good amount of these, but it's just kind of like a new hero is just thrown at you very frequently, and I just think if you want to have a game where it's not as overwhelming, having less hero releases is probably a good idea. But, I know some people really love the collection model of it, so I don't think everyone's going to agree with me on this point. But when I was playing, I just, there's a new hero every few weeks. I was focused on one hero, and I just couldn't get him, and it just took so long. And this is especially true with the Celestials and Hypogenes. These heroes are hard to get. You have a rate of pulling them at 1.4, and then as you basically try to summon them and don't get them, this will go up until you hit the guarantee at 40. But it just getting these, whatever these things are called, stellar crystals are really hard to get in the game. You can get them from the store, and they've actually increased the amount you can get over time compared to when the game first came out. These are really, really hard to get. But even now, like these, they refresh monthly. You can get 9. You can get some here. And that's pretty much it, aside from like different events and stuff. And you need a lot of copies of these heroes to like get them built out. So like even if you get 1 copy, you need like 4 more copies just to build them out all the way. And so when there's all of these, it's just a lot. Obviously they need to make money, and having people pay for these summons is partially their motivation, but I just think hero summoning can feel like a lot if you're trying to complete or get some of the good niche heroes in the game. The final negative for the game is recently there have been some updates where you can basically whale to get your characters leveled up even further than they already are. So before Supreme Plus was kind of like the max tier you could get your unit to, but now you can basically push them farther into P1, P2, and P3, and so on, where your units are going to be stronger than they were before. Nothing too crazy, but the stat difference is pretty significant, and it gives whales a significant advantage in the game. And so if you are someone who is wanting to kind of try to compete or max min, it just makes it really hard to actually kind of progress in this way. Or at least in AFK or arena type modes, it just makes it a lot harder. Oh, look, you can do that. Makes it a lot harder to kind of catch up or stick around whales. These changes have received a lot of pushback from the community, but it doesn't seem like there are going to be any significant changes to this. And basically, we'll encourage whaling for those who can afford it, which, every game has its whales, but it just kind of feels bad when the separation between a free-to-play player and a whale is pushed farther and farther to the point where you just can't even keep up anymore. So that's my review of AFK Journey. I've spent a lot of time playing this game over the past few months. I played it when it first came out, and honestly, I recently stopped playing it because it just felt like a big hassle every day. I was already playing several other games, and I just didn't want to sit around on my phone playing mobile games for like 3 hours a day just to do my dailies. And this one felt like it was a pretty good time sink as far as, compared to other AFK type games where I don't have to play as much to kind of progress in the game. And so I stopped playing it. But overall, if you're looking for a main game to kind of make as your mobile game, I think AFK Journey fits the things that a lot of people are looking for. As I mentioned, there's just a lot of positives about the game. It's been handled really well. I think, it's a top tier as far as like overall quality goes, quality of life. It's a good game. I think there are some negatives, like I mentioned, but every game's going to have some negatives. Every game's going to have some of these similar problems. And so I don't think these are things that are game breaking necessarily. I just think a lot of it comes down to preference. And I think this game will fit the mold for what people are looking for more than other games. But that's my review of AFK Journey, y'all. Let me know what you think of the game. If you've played the game before, if you're thinking about it, if you're a new player, leave in the comments below. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the game, the state of the game. And then if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe below. And as always, Have a great rest of your day. Peace.